New Year's resolutions. The first day of school after winter break, I woke up early. Pretty boy chirped at me from his cage. Yes, I said, pulling on my new pink sweater. It's a beautiful day. Mr. Harding asked for the answer to number 14, and no one spoke up, so I raised my hand. It was the first time I'd volunteered an answer, and he grinned just like David as he called on me. I got it right. Of course, 6,049 divided by 23 is 263. The other kids stared, and their eyes on me made my skin crawl. But then Mr. Harding called on someone else, and the itchy feeling was gone. At lunchtime, I asked Mr. Harding if we could work on algebra every other day, so I could still see the other kids too. He nodded. You know, Marley, engineers work in groups. I think that's a great idea. So for the first time in a long time, I walked back to the cafeteria. I stood in front of the closed doors and concentrated, imagining myself a princess making a grand entrance at the ball. I counted 13, 17, 19, 23, pushed open the doors and went inside. No one even looked up. JT was at a far table, talking with his friends. Little Jimmy sat alone, and Nora and Sally were at our old table. I silently counted my steps as I walked over to them. Hi, I said. It came out a lot louder and shriller than I intended. But when Sally looked up, she smiled. Marley, she said, you're back. Nora pulled up a chair for me. You all done with the math stuff? Not at all, I said, sitting down. But the rest can wait until tomorrow. This was easier than I thought. Doing math for fun? Sally laughed. Marley, you're such a square. Or not so easy after all. I couldn't believe Sally was starting again with the insults. And I hadn't even been there 5 minutes. I touched the feather in my pocket. This time, I wasn't going to let it go. I do think math is fine, I said. But don't call me a square. Sally rolled her eyes. I was just teasing. Don't be so sensitive. It's mean, I said, and I don't like it. Sally looked at Nora as if to say, can you believe her? Nora shrugged. She's right. Sometimes you are kind of mean. Sally opened and closed her mouth several times. I could almost see the words floating through her head as she struggled to find something to say. Finally, she just shrugged. Sorry, she said. Nora gave a nervous giggle. Sally had never apologized before. I shrugged too. I am probably a little square, I said, and we all laughed. Nora started talking about winter break. It felt good to sit back and eat my cheese sandwich and listen to her complain about little sisters and socks for presents and all sorts of normal things. Then I remembered I didn't have to just sit back and listen. I could say something too. I could tell them all about the airplane ride. I was trying to find the right moment to speak up when JT walked over to our table. Hi, Marley, he said, real friendly. I need a favor. I gave him a look. It was supposed to mean go away and leave me alone, but apparently he thought it meant please go on because he kept talking. Mr. Harding said I was missing a couple of assignments. He put a piece of paper down on top of my sandwich. There, listed there. You can give them to me tomorrow in homeroom. I was beginning to think JT was like the nasty phone calls, scary, but all hot air. And there was only one way to find out if I was right. No, I said. What? I'm not doing your homework anymore. I braced myself for his anger, the shock, the threats, the drama of the shy little girl saying no to the big, strong football player. But JT didn't look surprised. He didn't even look irritated. He seemed kind of amused. In fact, he was grinning at me. I always knew you was a pretty girl, Marley, but you're even cuter when you're angry. I'm not angry. Of course I was angry. I'd been doing his homework all year. He shrugged. It's no problem. I'll just find someone else to do my work for me. You can't do that, I said. It's cheating. JT laughed. Of course, it had been cheating when I'd done it too, but I preferred not to dwell on that fact. I like your pink sweater, JT called out as he walked off. I wasn't sure if I was proud of myself for finally standing up to him or embarrassed. It had taken me so long to do so. The next Thursday at the Rock Crusher, I was planning on telling Liz all about it, standing up to Sally and JT. But as soon as I got there, Liz started talking. You know Curtis, right? Betty Jean's son? Yes. Liz blushed, which made me even more curious to know what was going on. He's in youth group with me at church and in ninth grade at Dunbar, but he'd never spoken to me. Then today, he saw me writing in my journal, and he came over to see what I was doing. We started talking, and we realized we both know you. That's great. Actually, I was worried. What if she dumped me for him like Judy had done with Robert Lawrence? I wanted her to stop exploding when she was teased, not get a boyfriend. But I couldn't say that. So I just asked, you didn't tell him we were friends. We were still friends, did you? No, said Liz, but I think he guessed. Yeah, I said, I think little Jimmy guessed too. He says hi. Hi, Liz looked pleased. You tell him hi right back. How long can we keep this up? I asked. I don't know, said Liz, but I hope for a really long time. I hoped so too.